Hey guys, GHD sit-ups, alright, so GHD and sitting up, alright, so a little bit more of an advanced sort of sit-up, working on the, you know, the midline, the hip flexors, the quads, lower back, all that region, posterior of the body. You go into extra extension, as in, you know, bending over backwards a lot more than your normal sit-up. So you're obviously going to be strengthening, you know, the fronts of the body a lot more, and also the lower back. Now, if you haven't done a lot of these and you're starting to incorporate them into your training, like you've jumped up into the intermediate category or the advanced category, just be careful of these. Make sure you do them nice and controlled at the start. You've got to stay nice and switched on through here, make everything nice and tight through the whole movement. They do have a tendency to light up people's lower backs. One that do too many reps when they're not conditioned enough for the movement, or it can have you know, a tightening effect on the back because of the range of motion. All right, so if you're super tight, you know, through the hamstrings and the hip flexors, and or you've had back niggles, lower back niggles before. All right. The problem is that if you are tight through the back of the legs and you do go into that extension part of the GHD, and you don't have the length through the back of the body, what it does is it pulls the pelvis or tucks it under, and then obviously your back muscles are connected to your pelvis, so they're going to pull those back muscles with the pelvis, all right, which in turn starts to fatigue the lower back and light the lower back up. You won't feel it straight away, it'll be later on when you've cooled down. You get that dull, achy, fatigued back feel. So just exercise with caution on this one. And what I mean by that is don't be afraid of it, just respect it. So when you're starting these bad boys, just do small sets and stay in control. All right. So enough on the warnings. Let's get into the movement. Setting yourself up on a GHD machine, obviously. Now, depending on your height, okay, whether you're a smaller athlete or you're a female. What I mean by that is most females are a lot shorter than the average size male, so just make sure that if you are shorter or you are a female, you have yourself a wall ball or some sort of elevated object, so you get to touch that object at the full extension phase of the GHD. All right. That's just to make sure that you don't overreach and overextend and try to touch the floor, because I mean it's a requirement to try and touch the floor or touch some object to know that you're going to the same point each sit-up, right, or each movement. All right, so wall balls are good for those of you that are shorter. I would say if you're shorter than 5'6", all right, I definitely would be using something like this. Okay, so that's your setup. Then obviously, anything that we do on this GHD machine, we want to make sure that we're in the correct position. Alrighty, so you want a slight bend in your leg, or your legs. So popping yourself into your feet holder, like so. Slight bend in the leg. Okay, I'm not locked out at the start, I've got a slight bend. I'm sitting here comfortably, at least on the upside of the pad. Alright, so the very centre of the pad, or slightly down the back, which I like. Okay, so your butt's just sitting slightly back of the pad. Alrighty. So your first initial setup position is making sure that you're sitting nice and tall, obviously as straight as possible. Alrighty. Turning midline on, bracing myself, ready to perform the down part or the extension part of the GHD. Alright. So I'll come down under control. Alright, I'll keep my legs slightly loaded, slightly bent. I don't want to straighten them too much. Slightly loaded. Okay. That means my hamstrings and my quads are ready to go. I come down, my hands come up over the top. I'm staying nice and tight through the midline. If I'm a taller athlete, I'll touch the ground. If I'm a shorter athlete, I'll touch a ball or some some sort of elevated object, and then on the way up, I'll sit up nice and controlled. Alright, noting that my legs have come a little bit straighter because I've actually tightened my leg muscles to help me come up. Alrighty, so it's not just midline we're using quads, we're using hip flexors, and we're also using a little bit of hamstring and glute to help us get up in that movement. Alrighty, so that's the strict version. I'll just give you a few more reps so you can check them out. There's sort of a strict and what we call a not so strict, or a, if you want, a kipping GHD sit up. Alrighty, and I'll show you that one as well. But when you're first starting these movements, I really want to see and prefer to see you guys do them strict, just so you can learn the control and stay nice and tight. And then once we sort of build up, you know, the conditioning to this movement, then we can start introducing that knee snap or the kip. Alrighty, so a couple more strict reps. Nice and controlled. You can also touch down with one side, come up, punch the pad, and touch down with the other side, if you like. Up to you. I just prefer to do both sides at a time. Alright, so that's the strictest version and the one that I'd like to see you, if you want to get the most benefit out of these as a strengthening tool or exercise. Now, the next one is when we start to talk about doing GHD in workouts. Once we've got that structure and that ability to pump out volume and stay safe, and we start to incorporate a bit of a leg snap or a knee snap. And what that's going to do is going to start to move the emphasis off hip flexors and sort of hamstrings and quads, and it's going to start to use the midline a little bit more. So basically what you want to do is you need your legs a little bit bent, a little bit more so than the strict one. So when we set ourselves up, it may mean that you need to set yourself up a little bit closer than what you were on your stricter version. Okay, just so you get a little bit more of a range of movement to snap those knees down. All right. So starting the kipping GHD or the GHD with the leg snap or the knee snap, we want to have our legs a little bit bent, like so. All right, and when we go down to the bottom, keeping my legs loaded, all right, and it's like pulling the trigger on a gun. So once I want to come up, I want to snap my legs down, tighten that hamstring, activate those hip flexors and those quads, and get that body to sit up as quick as possible. All right, so I'll link a couple of reps here, and always keep in mind you still need to be nice and tight through the midline. Okay, so I'll do 5 hipping GHD. All right. So as you can see, you can do them a lot quicker, like any sort of kipping movement. You're going to be able to do a higher number in a shorter time frame, which eventually, once you build the structure and the ability to do that, it's going to give you more work capacity as always. Okay, so that's the GHD sit-ups. Get stuck into them, treat them with respect, and they'll be a great strengthening and conditioning tool.